Hey, Betty. Hey, Brian. Dan.
Yeah, good morning,
Hello,
everyone.
everyone.
Hi. Okay, let's kick it off. It's been a while since we've had a Karura community call. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. I'm Robin. I'm on the growth and community team. I'll kick over to Dan. You can intro yourself. We'll just do some quick intros.
Hey, everybody. This is Dan Reeser, VP of Growth for Acala and Karura. And good to see everyone here. Thanks for joining.
Hi, everyone. This is Brian. I'm co-founder of City of Acala.
And Betty, I believe you're on the move, so hopefully.
Yeah, I'm in a car, but that's okay. Doesn't affect anything.
Great.
So yeah, co-founder of Acala and Karura. Happy to be here, part of the community. Yeah.
Cool. So we're all here. I think everybody's been eager to hear about what's going on with the Karura side. Of course, if you're in the server for Acala, then you know that we've been pretty busy with an exciting Acala Crowdloan that's in process. It's the last day to contribute to be able to qualify for rewards, and it's really taken a lot of our focus, but of course it's all for the benefit of both Acala and Karura because it's a comprehensive ecosystem. So thank you everyone if you've been supporting us in the Crowdloan. But with that said, we do have some updates over on the Karura side and a lot to look forward to.
Yeah. So I think before we start, Robin, I think maybe we can revisit the relationship between Karura and Acala. I think in the past we've been making it quite clear that from a technical perspective, Karura is this sort of testing bed for Acala. Everything goes through Karura first before it goes to Acala, right? So I think this is true for Kusama and Polkadot to some extent as well. So that's only from a technical perspective. We've been focusing on that end because we're still in the R&D mode for most part. But I think folks who are asking questions more, I guess, in the medium or longer term, where these two ecosystem goes. And I would say, I think going down the track, I think the two chains are sovereign financial centers, one for Kusama, the other for Polkadot, right? If you look at that from that perspective, things will become very interesting because as long as Kusama or KSM has value, then the DeFi center or liquidity center for Kusama will remain on Karura and is continuing to serve the ecosystem there. And this is also true for Acala as well. However, there will be one day that these two separate worlds or the two separate financial centers is going to have international trade through the bridges, right? So there will be bridges between Polkadot and Kusama. And once the time comes, then the two economies will become a lot more correlated. So right now, I think we're going to spend quite a bit of period of time that the two economic center is going to develop in parallel, right? And each one of them is kind of like tag along Kusama and Polkadot as a separate sort of economic sort of environment. But once the connection between the two starts to happen, once the bridge happens, I think there will be interesting play there where Karura will play a role in Acala's economy. So potential example would be, on Karura, the collaterals on Karura can now be, flow across to Acala. So there's be import and export, if you like, assets between the two chains, and the economic value is going to tag along for both chains. So you can imagine maybe one is Singapore and the other is New York type of thing, and then there will be a lot more economic activity between the two. And then another maybe more a concrete example would be, I think everyone knows that we've done two Build Acala event, right? So we've in total raised, I think about 2 million or roughly around that range. And then that is going to be put on treasury for Acala once we launch. So and then in the Build Acala event, 10% of that is actually reserved for the Karura economy, right? So if the Karura needs some of those assets, whether it's in the form of DOT or through a DEX trading, we can trade the two tokens and get KSM and then deploy on Karura, and then for various different type of liquidity injection in the chain, and that will actually connect the two chains a lot more tighter. So so a lot of this stuff I think right now is very hard to see because we are at very, very early stage of building. So and speaking of like the sort of the stages or the approach that we take, I think it's worth making a comment on sort of our way of developing our ecosystem. So I think for folks in the Polkadot ecosystem, you can see what Polkadot approach is fundamentally different from all the other layer ones, right? It didn't actually copy and paste, the sort of the EVM approach. It didn't actually even use any similar or relevant architecture. It basically built an entire stack from the ground up as the base layer for Internet of blockchains or the Web3 so-called. And there's reasons for that, right? If you want to go really quick, then certainly just copy and paste and change a little. That will be the quickest way to go to market and capture the hype. But I think most of you guys are here, and also like for us, if we were going for something quick, we probably wouldn't choose Substrate as a tech stack to actually build on top of. But we did, mostly because we see this market or this sort of disruption is going to go way beyond just some smart contract, yield farming, moving from one place to the other. It's going to go beyond that border and into everyday life. Once you think about that, then you have to look at examples out there, right? So, there are different ways to build application. You have Android system, I just use analogy, right? You have an Android system, they focus only just the software, right? So they can quickly sort of like build out the software, but their hardware is very different. So you get the type of user experience that way. But there's also iPhone, right? Which owns the entire stack. In a way, if you really want to deliver the experience, like being able to really disrupt an industry, you have to own the full stack. But at least that's what we kind of believe in. You need to own the hardware. So so for us, then we think that if you really want to disrupt an industry like finance, it's a huge industry, right? And what we are tapping into, even the entire sort of the crypto asset class or the cap of the crypto asset is a tiny drop in the financial market ocean, right? We have to be like realistic about that. So in order to disrupt the whole industry, like what we are doing here is not nearly enough. Like, I mean, in terms of innovation. That's why I think we took a longer path and also a more fundamental path to change the architecture, to upgrade the architecture so it can actually help us to get there. And then more specifically, the architecture we chose is a specialized blockchain that can do one thing really well. So that can really do finance really well and be able to optimize for finance, and then being able to open that up for others to build on top of. So we are a little bit like this sandwich approach, right? So at the very base layer, it's a financial optimized blockchain with building liquidity, as well as a stable currency, which is like essential, like a central bank for the entire ecosystem. And then a layer above that is the open protocol layer. This is where the hard work is, right? It's easy to just build a stable coin and then just like, gather a lot of liquidity, which you guys will probably already see the initial shape and form. Now we launch Acala, right? Because on Acala, initial liquidity will be at least $1 billion in the form of liquid Crowdloan DOT, and then also quite a bit of liquid DOT as well as the initial liquidity, as well as the raw form of DOT, right? So and then certainly, once that layer is done, is the open protocol layer. And then the open protocol layer is where the EVM plus, which will be relevant for the update that's coming. And once that is open up, then you can have a lot of the applications built on top of it. But more importantly, the sandwich is the top layer, is we integrate back into fintech, into maybe even just like e-commerce or maybe other type of business, like real world business that can actually connect back to the stuff that we're building. Why do they even want to do that? Is because, for example, even simple things like you can transact and settle in stablecoin. That's such a small thing. It's a no-brainer for DGen users, but in a real-world business, that's a huge thing to be able to settle in something stable, right? So hopefully that give everybody and sort of a bigger picture on where we are heading. So with all of those I said, we are probably still at the very much ground zero. If you look at the whole chart, we're still at the very bottom and very beginning of that process of building out each of those infrastructure, and then building out the platform side, the EVM side, and then open up. So it's going to be a long journey for us. As for Substrate and Polkadot, building something fundamentally different is going to take time. So hopefully that's the expectation. So I think it's don't think we're just going to launch on December the 15th or 17th, to be specific, and then the next day you're gonna have everything launched, and then the next day your mom is gonna use it. I think that's not quite a practical way of looking at it. But the roadmap is quite clear for us. There's a lot of stuff to build, and then also a lot of innovations, right? So we're focusing on the hard tech at the bottom of it, but we're also trying to improve on the UX on the front. So so hopefully the next wee while we'll continue to grind and deliver services, and also collaborate with various different teams to deliver those experience. So so that's the overall picture, and feel free to comment and also ask things related to that as well. And then related to EVM, if you got specific tech question, I'll leave that to Brian. But overall, need to go a little bit in detail for the EVM Plus and explain. So first of all, the EVM module is a standard palette provided by Parity, right? So this is why Substrate is powerful. Every parachain can be EVM compatible, right? So you just install it, and then you can run EVM. However, that sort of installment basically separate the environments in EVM and also the Substrate side. So the two actually operate in isolation. And then the way that we see it to be full stack, which is allow you to customize the blockchain, but also be able to have a smart contract platform that can power open protocols, is the EVM has to have a plus sign. We're still thinking about a name, so feel free to comment on that. So the EVM Plus that we are building is have a lot of customization. So all the low level work that we've done, for example, the gas fees. You can have online keepers, which is quite a big thing for the DeFi protocols, and then also the Oracle integration, and also schedulers. All of those are made available inside the EVM. So as a smart contract developer, you will go through a minimum amount of changes, but you're able to innovate outside of the box, right? And then outside of the box facility is provided by us by building, this integration as well as adapter, so that to make sure from a user perspective and also the dev developer perspective, things are as compatible as possible. But it's not going to be 100% exactly the same, just because we are creating new instruments there for the dev developer to use. So it's going to be require some changes, but hopefully it's going to be 99% compatible for what they experience. But the most important thing is, we shouldn't look at this as this is an innovation from the ground up, right? We could have taken an easy route, but we didn't. And then as for the plan right now is we are about to launch a Mandala testnet, and that is going to have the EVM Plus at the engine level, so at the palette level. At the chain level, it will have the EVM Plus enabled on that. And then the development is still going on from the client side, so which is for the adapter, and then for the wallet support and also tooling support is still in R&D. So once the Mandala is going to be launched, once it's launched, then folks can obviously start using it. But at this point, you can use it using the Bodhi.js, which is our sort of tooling to interact with the smart contract, and also use Polkadot.js for the interaction. However, once our R&D is finished for the client side, then you could just use a standard sort of Ethereum tooling using MetaMask to build your front end if you want, or just redeploy existing contract to the EVM Plus to have the full experience. So after the adapter is done, then the end-to-end experience will be as compatible to Ethereum as possible. But also at the same time, you take it another look is if there's completely frictionless, you're just going to attract copy and paste projects and then redeploy on the chain without even concerning about what new innovations is there. So we have incorporated all the upgrades from Substrate, right? So how the fee is managed, and also existential deposit, and also state renting, like so being more efficient in managing the state on EVM, as well as all the other like sort of more feature-like DeFi feature-like stuff into our EVM, so that you're not just sort of riding on the hype, but also at the same time encourage innovation, really utilizing Substrate as a powerful tool to build sort of new stuff coming out. And then I've been meeting a lot of like new Ethereum teams lately. Like folks actually, gonna innovate out of like Aave and Compound. So basically, Aave and Compound probably serve as the first generation of the money market, for example. I've already met some teams that are, very, very experienced builders in terms of the financial instrument, and they are building something on top of these protocols that have way more improvements, thinking through the liquidation process, thinking through the miner extracted value and kind of avoid that, and then also more efficient in terms of capital efficiency, and then build that out from the ground up as a new money market, right? And those teams usually take longer than a week to release their contract, because all of this stuff is so that once they build, not just the degens going to use it, but also they're probably going to be trusted by institutions, and also being able to integrate back into some of the tools that everyone's familiar with, even back to fintech, etc. So you can see the timeline for those teams are longer, and then those are probably more in line with our sort of vision and goal as well. So we're going to continue to develop sort of those relationships, and it does take time to kind of build those relationships out, as well as actually building the code and bootstrapping all those out. So yeah, that is the sort of very long way to update the EVM Plus. Hopefully that also gives people a little bit more color of what we are building behind the scene, and what sort of expectation that you can set for us. So I kind of like gonna pause there because I've been talking for a very long time. Maybe just leave that for questions, and or maybe just hand over to Robin.
Yeah, I just remind everyone that if you want to join us on stage and ask your question live, you just need only raise your hand here in the stage channel. If you prefer instead to ask it by text, you could throw it in the community call chat, and we'll do our best to make sure that we answer you right away. So yeah, I'm hearing development and integrations on the platform level. This is incoming interoperability between Acala and Karura and other parachains, and then with the EVM Plus, this compatibility with Ethereum development. And it sounds like we've got some exciting teams that we're fostering these relationships with, maybe some well-known protocols and development teams on the Ethereum side. So it is early days, and it's going to be a long journey, but like what an exciting one to see Acala about to launch and know that Karura is already up and running. So with that said, as we're waiting for some questions to come in, I wonder, Brian, if you want to add some color on the technical side of the EVM Plus. That'd be great.
So it is not that hard to just build another Ethereum because, as you can see, there's already BSC and Polygon and a bunch of other Ethereum compatible chains out there. But that doesn't mean it's actually a very good idea just to build another Ethereum, because, well, the whole point of Polkadot is we can build something better than Ethereum. Otherwise, Gavin wouldn't create Polkadot. So there are different. Ethereum is it's been out there for quite a long time now. A lot of decisions made when building Ethereum make sense at that time, but doesn't actually make a whole lot of sense right now. So there are a lot of areas can be improved. And as Acala or Karura, we definitely want to build a long-term sustainable blockchains. So we don't want to inherit all the legacy decisions made by Ethereum developers many, many years ago. There are a lot of known issues on Ethereum, and there are a lot of discussions about fixing or improving those issues. But because, well, on Ethereum ecosystem, there's already tons of smart contracts, existing tool chains, existing stuff there. So it becomes very hard to fix those issues without breaks all the existing codes out there. But we have the privilege of launching a brand new network. So we don't need to inherit all the legacies from Ethereum. So we have the chance to build a better one. So this is also one of the primary reasons why the EVM Plus took so long to be launched, because we're trying to address a lot of tricky conflicts between fundamental architecture of Polkadot and Ethereum. But it's good that we have some solutions out there already, and then so we're just doing some final touch on improve the capability, because while we want to build something better, we understand that it will be very, very nice if existing codes and tools can be reused without rewriting all of them. So this capability solution hopefully can address most of those concerns. But obviously, it's very hard to try to get the best out of both worlds. So they will take some time. But we're making some good progress. So we're planning to launch a new Mandala testnet in next few weeks' time. And then after that, we're also launching enable the EVM Plus there, so people can give a sneak peek of it in the Mandala. And if everything is ready, it's all good. And obviously, we also have all the team following by that. And once we believe that everything is secure, then we will be able to launch on the Karura first, and then later on launch on Acala.
Cool. So we're looking forward to that Mandela launch. I know everybody's been excited to get back into the testnet, and then also this will be. Oh, excuse me, there's a car driving by. Yeah, everybody will be excited to see the testnet for the apps back up, and then also this Mandela launch for the EVM Plus. It looks like we don't have any hands raised to join us on stage, so if we could just move along in our agenda. The next item on everyone's mind, I think, is what's planned ahead for the LKSM, the KSM liquid staking product.
Yeah, so I can give a quick update on that. So we are working on the next version of liquid staking because folks know when we first launched, it is a light version. And then we're doing an upgrade on that. And it will actually simplify and automate a lot of the process due to the previous constraint of XCM. So we're making progress on the XCM side. So basically, this is the cross-chain side that you can automatically make calls onto the relay chain, whether it's on Kusama or Polkadot. And then you can actually stake, unstake, and also doing other more fancier stuff on the relay chain. And then from the user perspective, also going to simplify the flow. So the staking side or the minting side probably going to stay similar. It's just like one click and staking. Whereas for the redeem side, it will have two very simple options. One is you can immediately redeem the token. And then the second thing is you can actually just normal redeem and kind of wait for the unbounding period. And then we're gonna, instead of having a variable redeeming period, we're gonna have a fixed redeeming period. Based on lots of feedback. So how that would work in detail. So when you redeem instantly, the redeem actually goes through the DEX. So you're gonna have a slippage there, which is basically like the fee. So it's no different from our original design. There's a fee attached to having early or instant liquidity, but that at the background it kind of like goes through the liquidity pools to do the swap. And obviously right now we using the pairs in our pool, but I think soon there will be the Nuts Finance launching the curve-like pool on Karura, and then later on Acala, and then the similar pairs like DOT or KSM based pairs like KSM, LKSM, or whatever other KSM derivatives, then they can trade, I guess, more efficiently there. So that will be sort of like down the track, that when that happens, then we can also route it to those pools as well for instant redeem. And then for the normal unbounding, then it will just be in batch mode. So as soon as you hit a button, then it will be batched, maybe per error. And so you know exactly when, well, the maximum amount of time you have to wait. So it will be the batch period plus say 7 days on Kusama, and then 28 days for Polkadot. So then you can actually do your, I guess, asset planning, financial planning very easily based on that. And then doing the batch has a added sort of advantage or hidden sort of a positive side effect is if during the batch period, right, whether it's a few hours on Kusama or a day on Polkadot, if during that period of time you got lucky, so someone is minting the LKSM token, then you actually get immediate unbounding straight away without paying extra fees, right? So that is a positive side effect based on this sort of iteration of improvements. But hopefully, all in all, it's going to be a more simpler, but also for us from the internal operation side, more automatic, and also a better operation there for LKSM, and also later on LDOT. So yeah.
Great. I shared more information on getting started with liquid staking. If you're new to the Karura community or you're new to the Acala server, I know we had a lot of joins in the past few weeks for people who are learning about the Crowdloan for Acala and the parachain auction. So if you're just getting started with Karura, be sure to check out the wiki, and that walks you through the iteration as of now for KSM liquid staking. But those updates will be reflected there soon. Okay, so next on the agenda, we have a liquidation event to address.
Yeah, sure. So for that, something interesting happened last week because somehow, or expected or non-expected, KSM has dramatic fluctuation in its market price, and then obviously, with using KSM as collateral, there's multiple liquidation events happen, and that also shows how early we are as a community or as a sort of the financial center and trying to bootstrap it. So during that event, there's a large amount of KSM being liquidated as expected, right? Because I think the market price dropped over 20 or 30% or something like that. And then when that liquidation happened, we have maybe I'll try to find the link there. So we have a mechanism on chain to actually figure out can it actually liquidate on a DEX? If not, if it was such a large amount, if not, then it goes to an auction, right? And then I think auction is like very rarely being discussed on here. I think we can start, kind of like discussing it and then having people aware of how they can probably participate or plan to participate. Is on the auction, this is an opportunity that you can pick up cheap collaterals, whether it's in the form of KSM or LKSM. Also thinking about adding KR as collateral. for borrowing stablecoin. At the moment, Ganglet is doing an economic review and liquidity review for us for the KAR token to be qualified as a collateral to be used for borrowing. Regardless, the auction is a way to pick up cheap collaterals, because what happened is when the price drop sharply, and then the assets get liquidated on the auction, and then people will start bidding, right? Or most likely it's the bots start bidding. And usually start with a very low price and then you just bid up. But if there's not much competition, you can imagine folks, like if the KSM price is at, I guess, $400 or 420, maybe the bidding war starts at 380. So you can easily pick up like 40%, 50%. This is exactly what happened, right? So folks actually, kind of like 40 or 50% discounted KSM, you could have picked up on the auction, but because there are not too much competition there, so it's kind of like a loss profiting opportunity. So what happened on that event is like the auction didn't quite go through because there's like not enough people bidding on the larger amount of the KSM, and the KSM actually went back to the DEX pool, right? And then that kind of created a huge buy pressure of the KSM, and then obviously dried down the price of KSM, but very quickly it kind of come back to the normal price compared to the market price. So what happened there is some smart people, I don't know if they're people or they're actually bots that did the arbitrage, and they basically kind of absorbed all the 40% or 50% of those discounts by arbitraging the price discrepancy in the DEX versus the market price out there, right? So they probably just keep buying the dollars and doing the trading to get that. So there's like the discounted collateral is like a fish going through this pool, right? And then see where you can actually catch that discount. Obviously, for efficiency perspective, catching at an auction is the best place. But also, if it doesn't get caught, then the flow into the DEX, and then you could also caught the fish, the discount, if you're running arbitrage bots or just like arbitraging yourself. So that is like very high level. So I think maybe next week or maybe later, we're going to release a little bit more information on that. We are running bots ourselves, right? But this is something that the community should participate. So we're going to like release some documentation explaining the process as well as some reference code so you can run, right? And obviously, if you are more sophisticated, then you certainly can create your own strategy. Our one is like fairly safe. We just have a bunch of the LKSM, so basically like safe asset and not losing any yield. And then when the liquidation happen, we basically just mint the dollar on the fly and then be able to bid on the auction straight away. So yeah. So that's basically the liquidation event that happened, and then we'll share a bit more detail down the track and also share the code. I hope that helps.
Cool. And I just wanted to clear one thing up because Betty was talking about this liquidation event that happened within the Karura apps, and she was using the word auction. This might have confused some people because there's also these Polkadot parachain auctions going on. These are two completely separate and very different types of auctions that have almost no relation. So just wanted to clear that up. These Polkadot auctions are basically auctions to earn a slot on Polkadot, just like Karura did on Kusama. And then these auctions Betty are talking about are these auctions that happen like almost in the background, mostly with bots, like Betty was saying. And this is how liquidations happen on Karura's dApps, and also how it will happen on Acala when Acala launches. So just wanted to clarify that. The last topic we had before we take any questions if people have them, I think Brian had a couple additional updates on Karura Launch, I think on a couple different topics. So Brian, if you want to get into that, it'd be great.
So while the team is currently obviously preparing for the launch of Acala, but we are still also preparing for the next phase of the Karura. So we do have a few more plans in the upcoming weeks. So the first thing is we do plan to add a few more trading pairs around the L dot, probably KUSD. Again, we are still finalizing the details, figure out that there will be incentive plans as usual. So we're trying to figure out what's the right number.
You said L dot, you mean LKSM?
Oh, sorry, LKSM. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So hopefully there will be some proposals coming up in next week or so. And then we can also discuss this in the Acala Discord forum. So that's the first thing. The second thing is obviously the network is running for quite a few months now fairly stably. So we feel it's probably we can start the next phase of decentralize the network. So right now the network is not 100% decentralized in a way that while we still have democracy, so the Karura token holder can absolutely taking control of the network, but still the council is still appointing the council right now. So will be the next phase will be enabling the elections for the council members, and then the KR token holders will be able to elect the council members for the network. So this will be the final phase of fully decentralize the network. So obviously we cannot just open up and expect everything will go smoothly. So we'll be probably also taking some phased approach, as well as we also need to probably adding more documentations as well as descriptions of what's the duty of a council, and then why you should try to try to become a candidate of council member. And so we'll be also publishing more articles on those areas as well.
Cool, thank you for that. I think now is the great time to jump into questions from the community. We do have some members who have raised their hands requesting to speak. I'll just invite you guys to stage if you accept. Let's go with Arda. We've been holding tight for a while.
Hi Robin, hi Beth, hi Brian, hi Dan. I just want to ask something about joining Polkadot Parachain auctions on centralized exchanges. It's okay if I mention the name of the exchange, right?
Yeah, sure.
I participated on Polkadot Parachain auction in Binance, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna receive Acala tokens around 15th or 17th of December. And I'm listening your community call today, and I learned about staking Acala tokens or LC dots, if I'm not mistaken again. What I wonder is, when I receive Acala tokens, is it possible to stake them in Binance directly, or should I use Polkadot.gs to stake them on Acala's on itself? Thank you.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's a good question. So we basically pay almost nothing to Binance. That's why you guys seeing us probably laying pretty low on exchange like Binance, because our sort of philosophy is we should give everybody sort of the similar, at least like very close rewards, whichever way they participate. So you can see whether you directly participate or through LC dot, even on exchanges, the rewards are very, very similar, if not exactly the same, right? So of course, the centralized agencies or authority doesn't quite like that approach. So we are being very much kind of disadvantaged. We're probably on the lowest rank, lowest sort of flow on most of them, but we're consistently the number 2 mostly contributed project on there, so it's still not too bad. But the advantage of this approach, I guess, one is so that everybody is kind of like fair, because the reward is the same regardless where you are contributing. But secondly is for the direct contribution, we can see I think it's like 80% of all the contribution actually coming directly using Polkadot.js or wallet of some sort. So they are instant users, right, of our application, or through some other Polkadot builders application like Talisman or other wallets, etc. So those are great kind of like onboarding of users. So that's mostly where we focus our attention on, is like onboarding to Polkadot. And then most of those folks, I think right now it's sitting at 75% or 80% of all the DOT acquired, sitting as in the form of LC DOT. So there's like $1 billion worth of LC DOT there available on the Acala chain. However, if you participate on centralized exchange, then you don't get a benefit of LC DOT. But I think on Binance, they have their own form of a centralized liquid token called B DOT. So if you participate on their auction, they give you a B DOT. I think the entire list of projects add together B DOT is probably not even probably close to the size of LC DOT. So we're really up against centralized authority of liquidity in this stage. So we'll probably, everyone, if you've participated, should feel proud that how well performed we have been. But nothing against Binance, right? It's just like we are in a decentralized world, and then we do things our way. While we still, going forward, still going to be very collaborative with all of the different parties, including Binance and other exchanges, because that's how we can actually grow our pie together. But very specifically to your question is, if you participated through Binance specifically, I think they issue also a B DOT token on there, tradable as well. But you're not going to get LC DOT because that's not how it's being arranged, right? So yeah, hopefully that helps. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. But can I just specify my question a little bit deeper?
Yeah, sure.
What I try to understand is, when I receive Acala tokens or BDATs in Binance in this example, I want to stake them using Acala. So how do I transfer my rewards? I mean BDOT and Acala tokens. How do I transfer my tokens to stake them on Acala? Is it going to be possible to stake them through Binance, or should I use like Polkadot GS or another sort of wallet to use them in Acala?
Oh. Yes. Okay.
That was the question.
Okay. Yes. Okay. ACA staking. Yeah, sure. That's also related to KR staking, right? So at this point, in the first version that we have on our white paper, the token has a fixed supply, right? So there's no inflation. So for a staking token, so if you stake a token and you receive rewards, there's inflation involved. So basically, they're just paying you some part of the inflation, so that you feel that you're making an income. So for example, if you stake one token and you receive 10% of annual APY, that's basically printed money, right? And part of that actually get distributed to people who staked. This is like really like if you unveil everything and go down to first principle, because money doesn't come from nowhere. Basically, if you print money, then you can have a staking mechanism, and then you get the money that way. And obviously, the white paper that we had basically says it's a fixed supply. So from a mechanical perspective, if you HODL the ACA token or the KR token, it's the same way as if we print 5% or 10% and give some of those to you as APY, right? So mechanically, it's the same. However, having that said, the first release is going to be stay like that as a fixed supply. However, understood like a lot of community feedback on that, and then we've done some thinking also in terms of how to evolve beyond version 1, because you don't think that we're just gonna release the white paper and then we're not gonna go ahead for other innovations. So thinking ahead for version 2, like later releases, and also the sort of the economic model that's more in tune with what the community is leaning towards, is we're probably going to introduce some mechanisms there, like while provide safety or financial safety for the network, introducing inflations and also added staking incentives for everyone who's kind of helping out with securing the chain in one way or another. And then to provide that sort of as the added functionality and also staking mechanism for the chain. But those will still be in design. So we're going to have a few different options to kind of be able to provide for everyone to kind of have a discussion. Yeah, so I think that will probably come in the next wee while, so we can all discuss as a community together what we want to do. Yeah.
I would like to add a few things about timing. So first, well, very likely it will be launched on 15 or 16 of December, along with all the winners of first batch of partial auctions. But that doesn't mean the token will be distributed exactly on that day, because obviously launching a network requires quite a lot of work, and dispute the token rewards also requires a lot of work, as we have different kind of bonus, etc. We need, so it will probably takes a few weeks time for the rules to be disputed. And after, if you contribute through third-party servers like the centralized exchange, then the token will be disputed obviously to the exchange directly, and then it's when the exchange will dispute the token to the users, is not something out of our control, but hopefully they will dispute as soon as possible. And in terms of the participating different DeFi servers on Acala through centralized exchange, again, this is not something you can definitely make feature requests to all these centralized servers. We can definitely happy to work with them, but again, it's not something in our hands of control.
I see. I appreciate your answers. Thank you very much. I'm gonna head back to listeners. Have a good talk.
Thanks so much, Arda.
You're welcome.
All right, let's move along to two folks on stage here. We'll go to Blink and then we'll go to Opaque, since we're nearing the end of our call. Blink, take it away.
Hey, everybody. I just wanted to ask real quick about LP tokens as collateral. And even, some sort of DeFi magic, like having them staked in a liquidity incentives program, and then also using those still in a vault, if something was like that was possible. And then real quick on the end, if anybody is willing to comment about PCU getting launched, which is Kylan's solution for Kusama, and their data warehouses and fully customizable querying sets and stuff like that, that would make me really happy.
Yeah, so we do have a few plans, but actually in our implementation, we do suppose having LP token as creditors to borrow KUSD, but there are some security concerns. On Ethereum ecosystem, there are a lot of attacks based on this area, so we definitely don't want to repeat those mistakes again. So it takes a bit of additional time for us to make sure this feature is actually secure and enable it. But we do plan in the future to allow using LP token as creditors, and then to borrow KUSD as well as because it's just a token. So when the EVM is available, and then it can be used by all the Ethereum Solidity smart contracts for those. And for the Kylan networks, we are talking with them. They were building some demo products for Karura quite a while ago. I haven't followed up on the progress on that, but we're definitely talking with each other and trying to build something together.
Sweet, thank you so much, and awesome work by everybody, like always.
Thanks so much. Okay, so let's move to Opaque.
Hi, thanks for having me on. I'm still quite new to DeFi, and I was just kind of wanted to get an idea of where you see Acala 5 or 10 years down the line, kind of what function it plays in the whole DeFi ecosystem.
Yeah, sure. But 5 years is like a lifetime in crypto. But certainly, from a vision perspective, where we want to go is building ourselves as infrastructure. And then the stuff that we have on our infrastructure, like liquidity, various different earning opportunities, and they are safe, they are long-term, they are sustainable, and then they are able to be bridged back to everyday users. So these users, I'm not talking about folks who's already on, Twitter crypto, who's already, in this core, probably not quite, and also probably not quite the people who's already farming everywhere on different chains. I'm actually talking about, my mom and dad, everyday people who's still using, maybe credit card or the fintech app, or anything that's if not better experience, at least very similar, close to the current experience that you have, to be able to kind of like transact and build stuff, and then earn yield. And I think to that end, there's a lot more work to be done to build out that infrastructure. So I think I guess in 5 years' time, what I wish to happen would be you probably using an app, and you're constantly saving and then earning a yield, and also be able to transact and be able to pay bills very easily, but you didn't even know it's actually powered, if not entirely but partly, by Acala and also Karura infrastructure, right? So that would be ultimately is like using crypto without knowing you are using crypto is sort of our goal in terms of on the finance track that we are building in. So does that help?
Yeah, that does help. Thanks. That sounds really cool.
Amazing. So we've actually reached the end of the hour, so I think this might be a good place to leave it. Thank you guys so much for your questions. We'll continue to answer them in the community call chat. And as always, we will provide a recording of this community call on the Acala YouTube channel, and we'll paste it as well in the community call whiteboard. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Betty. Thank you, Dan. I guess we'll see what happens with the parachain auction later this evening for me.
Well, it's down to chance by now.
It's exciting. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.